Hello and welcome to Chad Magic Chats. Today we've got a special episode. We're joined by Lewis and Steve from Gathering the Magic.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome.
It's good to have you on. We've got our cups of tea. We're ready to start.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose the first question, maybe starting with you, Lewis, because you have just had a swig of tea. How did you get into Magic?
So, a couple of years ago now, one of our very good friends has been trying to get us into it for years. When we're looking
Sounds familiar, actually.
when we're looking for things to do, he'd suggest it, and I think we brushed it off for ages. I knew I'd love it because I've always been a massive nerd, like Pokemon cards, like things like that, Yu-Gi-Oh cards growing up.
Yeah.
Totally my thing.
I got Pokemon cards banned in my school, so I was that guy.
I think everyone did. I've still got a sealed first pack from when they first came out. So
Really? Wow.
thankfully, people like Logan Paul drove the value of that up. Loads. But yeah, so it's about...
Can't be worth some money, that, you know.
I know.
Yeah.
It's about 3 or 4 years ago. We finally caved. 4 or 5 of us played it. Really, really enjoyed it. And it kind of just went from there. I'm pretty sure I'd love to watch it back. Because I think the first time we ever played it, even my mate that got us into it didn't really know what he was doing. So I'm pretty sure we were playing like sorceries whenever we wanted.
Yeah.
We're going all over the place.
Are you saying you know what you're doing now? Because that makes the game we just played really unfair.
Actually, I'd still call myself the master of misplay. So no,
this is true.
I thought we were going with Mother of Marmosets.
Yeah, man of many titles. But yeah, it went from a one-off, really enjoyed it, and then turned to a 2, 3-off, and then because Steve lives in Wales and I'm rugby in the Midlands. I mean, you can go into it in more depth, but you came back for Christmas one day, didn't you? And when you got to our mate's house, we were all mid-game.
So they're all playing, and like you said, when you tried to get into us the first couple of times, kind of just brushed it off a bit. I was just very worried that I'd get obsessed with it.
You know what we were playing?
And spend all my money on it.
We were playing.
Imagine that.
I'm pretty sure you guys talked about it on the first Chat Magic. We were playing the game nights.
Oh
The game nights box.
yeah.
We were playing that. We were like different colours. Probably whoever had blue
And then,
won.
Yeah.
So I came down to rugby for the weekend, saw them all playing it, and then I think it was the day after.
It was the next day.
I went and bought the same game nights box.
Yeah.
What's it?
Like
It's
Pentagon.
Pentagon, yeah.
But then you also
You could have released it in the 70s. There's a bit uproar.
You also dropped about 60 quid on it, like instantly.
Yeah, just
or
like
more.
I'm having this, and then took it back home, played with a bunch of my mates in Bangor as well, and then from there my deepest fears were realising that.
You did become obsessed.
Became obsessed, spent all my money on it, all my time on it.
It is just a spiral though, isn't it? Because like our mate got us into it, and then we got Steve into it. Then straight away you've got loads of people in Bangor into it, and it's just like just keeps spreading, doesn't it?
I think we should probably clarify at this point the Magic is not a cult.
Yeah.
Which every cult ever has said, but this is definitely not a cult.
The worrying thing about that is though, I've heard that say by a few people a few times. How many times do you have to say it until maybe it is?
Yeah, maybe you need to
maybe
start
it's a
thinking,
cult.
if I have to say it's not a cult, maybe it's a bit culty.
Yeah.
No, I can leave any time I want, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, but there is a new set coming out.
Okay.
Best stay for that then,
So that's really interesting. So both of you were kind of like the game night way of playing that. And so did you play that as like a multiplayer game, or was that like 1v1?
We played it as... I think we only played that set thing once, like that first time Steve got into it.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a 4 or 5, however much there was this format. And then we very quickly sort of spawned straight into Commander. And I don't remember how or why or when, but our main play group is sort of, Commander heavy and...
Same with us.
Did you understand the different formats when you first started? Because I talked about this on the last episode. That was a bit of a barrier for me being the first in my friend group to play Magic. I didn't really know where to start. I didn't really understand the different formats. So you kind of just fell into Commander.
There's so many formats, I don't even know if I still understand all the formats. I don't remember, do you?
So fell straight into Commander, and then I started playing Arena online as well. So standard historic and added Explorer, which is not quite Pioneer now.
So until we met Bailey, I thought the only formats were Standard and Commander.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so 'cause obviously we met Bailey about a year ago, didn't we? We made friends with him then. And you and him start having conversations about other formats, because obviously you've been playing for longer than me and knew about them. And I'm like, what's this Pioneer? What's this Modern they're talking about?
I'm always trying to get people into Pioneer.
Surely Standard is Modern, because that's the newest set of cards.
Yeah.
I mean...
We went through a phase, especially at the start, where we'd have random sort of game nights at my house or someone else's house, and we'd have little standard tournaments.
Yeah.
But then that sort of fizzled out, and it's not even a question of like what format do we play. Is it? It's like
we turn up play Commander.
You're coming down to rugby. Yeah, it's not even like let's play Commander. It's like we're playing Magic.
And so mainly Commander players. Then do you have a signature deck or the deck that you're most excited to bring out?
Okay. There's only one answer for you.
Definitely my Muldrotha deck. Like, absolute baby. Buy all the best cards I can for it, and I hate playing against it.
I think it's almost a meme because like we first set up the channel, and especially in the early days, Steve off his own YouTube would comment on every video, but he'd comment something to do with Muldrotha, even though it wasn't to do with the video. And I remember one of my friends that I used to work with, not that plays Magic, but used to just watch my videos, just like good friend. And he one day he was like, "Who is this weird guy that just keeps talking? About Muldrotha?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's like my best mate Steve. He makes the memes like."
Muldrotha Steve, he's popping down.
Yeah.
It wasn't my first deck though. First deck I built was a rat deck, Marinora, with the rat colonies.
So that just is the deck that plays all rat. Yeah.
All rat colonies. Try and get like 50 out as soon as possible, and they're all unblockable because of Marinora.
Okay.
I remember one of the first times we played at yours, you didn't know anything about the deck, and I was like, right, I'm going to swing at you, Lewis, for 32 damage, and you're like, what's going on here? And then the other 3 players tagged and been killed me straight away.
Yeah.
See, my first deck was Tishan of Voice of Thunder, which is a very, I think, unheard of commander. Probably.
Well, I haven't heard of it.
Probably because it's disbanded now. It's gone to the deck graveyard.
Okay.
But it's because it is Simic, but it costs 7 mana value to play, so a bit too expensive. But
That's easy in Simic. You can get there.
Yeah, but it's
so play surely.
When you cast it, its power and toughness are equal to the amount of cards in your hand. No maximum hand size, and when it ETBs, you draw a card for each creature on the field. I think that's right.
You love no maximum hand size.
That was my first.
There's been a lot of that going around, hasn't there, today?
It's not anymore, but that was my first sort of foray into Magic. And to be fair, I might have got the card completely wrong, but I think that's what the card does.
We'll stick it up on the screen when we do the episode.
That was my first thing, and I was very much Simic heavy. But I'm not so much these days.
No, you just play dirty Ayara deck.
No, in the last year, I've definitely found myself leaning way more towards black. I like the colour. I like the things it does. I just like being that dirty person with all the kill spells and.
That is the advantage of mono black. Are you going to build a mono black commander deck? Do you think?
Well, I've got Ayara.
Oh, of course you have. Yeah, we even just played it, didn't we?
Yeah.
You have experience.
I just expunged that game from my memory.
That's interesting. So I would say that my first deck was Golgari, which was Slimefoot the Stowaway. So it's like one of those commanders that can do everything by itself that it wants to do. It can create a sapling token. Whenever a sapling dies, you'll gain a life, and your opponents will lose a life. But I've come away from that Golgari. I actually really enjoy kind of like control-y colours. It's not that I want to play a particular deck that's like it's going to stop my opponents doing everything. But I think I like having access to influence the game a little bit more. So in the first episode we played Gishath. That's probably a little bit one-dimensional for how I like to play now. But I enjoy like the interactive pieces. What about you?
So my first deck was a precon. It was Oboon, Muldire Ancestor, but we won't dwell on that with it being a precon. I have powered that deck up significantly now. But the first deck I built was Kalain Reclusive Painter that we saw in episode 1 of Chad Magic. And I played that because the card was standard legal and I'd been playing the Commander and Brawl.
Okay.
So I knew how to play the deck, and I thought, well, for the first deck, this isn't going to be too much money.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It is really weird how you go through the years in Magic and your taste changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I really loved Simic, and I was known as like a Simic sort of player, but now I just don't associate with it. And then I'll wonder in a few years if then I'll go off black.
Maybe
and then I'll venture like into Izzet or just something else just...
So I'm still very much in my aggro phase.
And if you do want to come back on the show, then maybe not, is it? We have a friend Bailey. He loves like every deck is blue red, and he likes playing like Phoenix in Pioneer and in Modern, and he played the Saheeli deck on the show and stuff like that. So I think it is interesting, and I think that kind of gets us onto like Magic is really there are so many different ways to actually play and build that it allows you to put that personality into what you're doing. So like people even have like pet cards as well, I suppose.
Yes.
You're laughing if you've got a pet card.
Yeah, because my pet card's dreadful. It's Boot Nipper.
Boot Nipper.
Yeah, because again, most of my early Magic education came through Arena. So that actually, obviously, it's a dreadful card in Commander.
What was it? It's a, black Death Touch? Was it Death Touch?
Lifelink as well.
Yeah, you can choose.
Oh,
Yeah, Death Touch
characters,
or
yeah,
Lifelink.
I think it's a 2/1 for 2.
Yeah.
And you can choose it with a Death Touch counter or a Lifelink counter.
And it's rubbish in Commander because there's a 2-mana creature in black that has flying and Death Touch and Lifelink, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it doesn't have flying. Well, basically, there's a better card for the same mana.
There's Gifted Aetherborn, which is 2 black, which is a 2/3 Lifelink Death Touch, I think.
Okay, well there you go. They're immediately better than Boot Nipper. But it was one of those cards when I was playing the Kalane deck on Brawl. I was so glad to see it any time of the game. Because like, okay, early game Death Touch or maybe late game you need to build a bit of life up. It was just versatile. And there was nothing in Standard that really was doing that sort of thing at the time. So I do have a special place in my heart for Boot Nipper. It's not in any of my Commander decks.
Sorry to disagree with you. I think that Boot Nipper is a terrible card.
I even started by saying it was a terrible card. It is a dreadful
I disagree, it's terrible.
Right, and what about yourself, Lewis? Have you got a pet card?
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say I'd show you, but it's so pet I have it on my skin. It's prickly marmosets. I don't know if you...
Yeah, for those listening instead of
the card
watching, Lewis has got a tattoo, a very good tattoo of the art from Prickly Marmoset.
Oh yeah, I was so pleased with it.
That is fantastic, actually.
Yeah,
It's
really, really good.
When I got the tattoo, I thought, because I met with the tattoo artist beforehand, and I thought it was going to be a lot smaller. And then I get there, and he gets the printing out and puts it on, and I went, oh. and I said, oh, is it not going to be a bit smaller? He's like, no, it'll take away from the detail. I was like, okay, all right.
So for those of you watching the tattoo, it does cover most of Lewis's bicep.
Yeah.
So not a lot. But yeah, I mean, I guess just going to the story of why it's my pet. When I first started the channel, it was right at the start of the first lockdown. I think it was like March or April 2020, and I was at a point where I was buying booster boxes, cracking them, or buying boxes where I thought the value was, because obviously it's a risk, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah.
So like, especially with Ikora, you had like the triomes.
Yeah.
You had a few really, really valuable cards at that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was going to crack 3 boxes, and then one of our mates was like, "Oh, record it. I want to watch you open it." So I opened it, and I don't know why, especially when you look at the cards that were in the set, but on the packet art, it's on the packaging. So I still open these packets, and then I don't know why, I was getting excited whenever I got one of these, and it was the pack, and it was just a little joke that sort of spawned through 3 videos, and then when I finished them boxes and then started making list videos and stuff like that, I seem to shoehorn that into like every video. Or Steve makes memes constantly on our Insta about it, and yeah, it just it became like a mascot of the channel, and yeah, mascots of my heart.
I think as far as mascots go, I mean, it's like a monkey and a hedgehog had a baby, and they're both pretty cute animals. So yeah, fair enough.
Looks like you two.
It's not too bad of a card actually. A 2/3 with first strike, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all right, and you can pump it. So
My friends have said, "Oh, we wouldn't mind if you made a Commander deck," and that was because obviously it's uncommon.
Oh yeah, well you rule 0.
Yeah. So I think I will whack that out one day.
Well, it would presumably be a mono red cycling deck if you were to build it. Do you have a pet card, Steve? I mean, do you have any tattoos of Magic cards? Or
Tattoos of Magic cards, so.
I mean, you're the main reason to blame why I got the tattoo.
Yeah, I am. I forced you to get it.
I made a thing where if I hit 1,000 subscribers before a certain time, I'll get the tattoo. And not that it was like a cop out, but like looking at the analytics of channel and stuff like that. Yeah. I was like 85% confident I wasn't going to hit it, but it might be a good thing. And then towards the end, when I probably wasn't that close, Steve just drove hard into like
putting it everywhere.
Make this guy do it, and then
So that is a good point there. So if you want Wally to get a boot nipper tattoo, please subscribe to the channel. And once we get to 1,000, we'll.
All right. Okay. Let's make this more interesting. If we get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022, I will get a boot nipper tattoo.
Right, you heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Yeah,
Deal.
yeah.
Can we come
come
to get a tattoo?
And by the way, I will be crying and screaming when I get it. I hate needles, absolutely dreadful. So this is a real big thing for me.
Where are you going to get it?
Let's not get into that level of detail.
I think you look quite good there.
Yeah.
Face tattoo.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite?
I don't really have any pet cards. Like, I'm quite spiky, I think you'd say, in terms of how I play the game. Like, I want to win. I want to play to win the game. Sometimes I'll do some janky stuff and I'll try and do this cool, fun thing, but most of the time it's I'm going to win. So I think at the moment my pet card would be Ledger Shredder.
Okay.
I stick that in every blue deck I possibly could. Playing mono blue and standard at the moment.
Yeah.
Like playing Is It Phoenix in Explorer. So
Yeah.
it's in my more drawer of the deck. Like,
It's a good card, Ledger Shredder. So I play a lot of Pioneer, and there's a few decks with it in Pioneer, and obviously it's doing some work in Modern as well. So it's not the cheapest card in terms of financial, but it is very, very good.
Yeah.
Interestingly, one of those cards that when it first was spoiled, everyone was sleeping on as well. So interesting.
Really shot
I think if you were looking at overarching pet card throughout the years, it probably would be Muldrotha, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Try and play as much as possible.
Yeah.
So you pick real cards as your pet card. That's a perfectly appropriate take, to be fair.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to pick a token as my pet card?
We didn't have the Rule Zero conversation, so I guess.
See, now you've made this sort of 1,000 subscriber bet. You're wishing you just said Ireland or something.
Yeah.
For your pet cards.
You would never get an island tattoo.
That's the last one I'd get,
card. I was thinking like mine might be a sap pulling token or something after my first deck. So that's really interesting. So obviously, Steve, you play a fair bit on Arena.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that Arena's kind of like helped you become a better player?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like,
even though you play Commander.
In Commander, there's a lot more room for mistakes. I think.
Yes.
So you got 4 people, and you can do takesy backsies and like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'll tap my mana differently, or I'll do this on your end step or something like that.
Or you could just miss certain triggers.
But on
which we do on the show all the time, by the way.
You're, in the same way your Mother of Marmosets, he's probably a mother of missing triggers.
Yeah, I'm playing instants on my main phase. I love doing that.
Sorry, I keep referring to you as Mother of Marmosets. It's just stuck. You
got to take the name for what it is.
I'll be the mother of main phase instants.
Yeah, you love a main phase. Oh, and you love a mulligan as well. Usually,
I do love a mulligan.
You can be the brother of boot nippers.
Brother of
yeah. I like that.
Yeah, brother of.
I can't wait for you to get that tattoo. So please,
1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. Which actually isn't totally impossible, to be fair.
No,
but like on Arena, there's obviously you don't know the person on the other end of the internet, so and you can't do anything. You can't take things back. Like if you do it, it's done, and they're like, oh, why have I done that?
So you've probably played Arena for a similar. We've probably all played for a similar amount of time. We've talked about some of favorite commander decks. Have you had any like sort of iconic Arena decks?
So I was playing during Eldraine, and I absolutely despised the Rogues deck. Like, I think everyone did.
Yeah,
I can't think of anyone who loved it. No, I mean, I only played for like 3 or 4 months before it rotated out Eldraine. But
I did try playing it for a little bit, but then you
say Eldraine, but this was a bit past Eldraine, wasn't it? There was. Is this the Loris Rogues?
Yeah,
deck?
when Ikoria came in.
Oh yeah. That was an absolutely broken deck, and it had the crab that made you mill, and sorry.
But then, so I tried playing it for a little bit, just felt dirty, couldn't do it. And then the best way to beat that deck was mono red aggro, which I also, before I started playing it, I was like, I'm never going to play that. And I was like, I hate rogues so much, I'm going to play mono red aggro. And then I absolutely loved it, like just flashing in an Embercleave and taking a life total down from nothing was...
So it was like fervent champion, robber of the rich, all that type of stuff. So you were my natural enemy because I was playing.
You might have played each other.
Yeah, maybe we did. I was like, no, not another mono red because I was playing Azorius Control. Sorry. So as soon as like Yorion came out as a card, I was like, I love this card. And in fact, actually, that could be argued to be like one of my pet cards because when that was in Arena, every deck that I had involved Yorion. So I was like, whenever I got mono red, because it would go so fast, I had to be really quick to sort of manage that. And then Robber the Rich came down. I was like, had a handful of cards. I was like, no.
Yeah. Take your land off the top and then you miss your land drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Brutal.
What about you, Lewis?
So Arena's a funny one with me. Like I love it, but I don't put enough time into it. So I go through phases. So when I'm normally playing, cards come and go, and I don't have the wild cards. My sort of favourite peak time was when Winota was in charge, and yeah, I went on a tear during that sort of period.
Did you run Agent of Treachery?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I had it on Winota deck, and I had Agent of Treachery because it's a human, so Winota can bring Agent of Treachery, and that comes out and you steal their thing. So that was a disgusting.
There was a point where that was everywhere in standard, and I decided I'm going to join. Rather than fight against Winota, I'm gonna join it. And,
you can't beat him.
Yeah. So but that was really fun. But it's something like it's one of them games where I just keep meaning to pick up, but then you don't, and then by the time you do.
Yeah, it's a really easy habit to get out of.
Yeah.
Like any kind of...
I wish I even just went on it and just did the dailies and
stuff that's what I try to, but sometimes I forget,
It's interesting you say you're a control player at heart, like playing Yuri on Arena and in Commander.
Yeah.
I think in Commander I'm more controlling, but on Arena I'm aggro as hell, just trying to get through the games as fast as possible, win as many games as quickly as you can. So I went
from approach to Arena.
Mono red to mono white aggro, and now I'm playing mono blue aggro.
So you annoy people, and then they just use their time down counters. Then you wait for 5 minutes.
Threading the rope,
It's funny you should say that because probably my favourite deck that I've ever played on Arena was actually a different one, which was Safara, and basically you tap 4 untapped flyers. And you bring out this, huge angel that gives all your other flying creatures indestructible. And that's actually my deck that I'm currently running in Pioneer, while I wait for some cards to arrive for a proper deck. And so that's actually a really aggro-y deck. And it's not tiered in Pioneer, but that was like a really, really fun one. You've got loads of flyers on the board. Your opponent's like, hang on, what do I do with all these pigeons that are currently descending on me?
Indestructible pigeons.
Yeah, indestructible pigeons. So the current deck is called Pioneer Pigeon, so you can find it on Moxfield if you're interested. So that's what I'm enjoying at the moment. But back to...
Let me just tell you about my
Arena,
because I'm really excited to talk about my Arena, because I'm confident I'm the only person on Arena who played this deck. I've never come up against this deck ever. And it was based around the decayed mechanic, from Midnight Hunt. The zombies that attack and then die. And there were lots of different ways to win the game. The first one was Poppet Stitcher, which means that if you have, I think it's 3 tokens on your upkeep, you can turn all of your tokens into 3/3s with no abilities. So all of your 2/2 with Decayed suddenly become 3/3s, which can just attack. And then there's Corpse Cobble, where you sack a load of creatures, create a zombie with Menace, with power equal to the total power of the sacrificed creatures. So again, you're getting value out of those zombies. But the deck was absolutely nerfed by the most recent standard rotation, because a lot of the good card draw spells were from Kaldheim. So it had Behold the Multiverse, which is, with Foretell mechanic, made it very, very versatile, but also then banning Meat Hook Massacre. I was heartbroken when Meat Hook Massacre went away.
Needed to go.
I was playing a Meat Hook Massacre deck with pre-rotation as well, which was it was using instant and sorceries. It was a Lear deck. With the set, is it Sedgemoor Witch, and it creates pests and things like that. So
spooky deck.
Yeah. So just bringing it back to Commander then, and we've talked about your first decks and what your sort of like your favorite kind of color combinations are. Is there anything that comes out in Commander and you're like, oh no, I really don't want to play against this deck?
Ayara.
I think that there's nothing that comes out and I'm like, oh, this is broken, it's going to ruin the game. I just enjoy all the cards that come out for what they are. I think there's a fun way to build around everything. But I think playing with the same play group, you tend to just be like, oh, I don't like this card. I think a lot of our play group is like, oh, if you see one of our friends play Orvar, we're like, oh, no. So I think
nobody likes the Orvar.
No, but I think cards that you don't like are just tend to be one that you have face across you.
We've got a friend who plays a lot of Enchantress decks. Like everything's an enchantment that draws more enchantments, and that really annoys me.
Yeah, all these cards
makes you quite jealous.
But the problem is with some of those enchantments, he keeps drawing cards, and then it sometimes just doesn't do anything else.
This is the guy who drew like 20 cards in one turn when we just filmed an episode.
Yes, Steve.
Nothing.
But no, there's never any new cards that come out, and I'm like, oh, this is ruined. This has ruined the format, or this is.
No, I don't think. I mean, I think Wizards of the Coast are quite good at not breaking things, and when they do, they very quickly rectify it.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy Hull Breacher. I think Hull Breacher did need to go because Hull Breacher with a windfall was just crazy.
But I mean, there are still other ways to do that combo, though. Like that combo, it's not the combo they're taking out; it's just Hull Breacher specifically.
Yeah, well, you can still windfall and do other things, but obviously Hull Breacher meant that
and all those treasures.
That was Commander Legends, wasn't it? Because they banned Opposition Agent.
No, that's not banned.
No, is that not banned? No.
Hull Breacher wasn't.
Was it just Hull Breacher?
Yeah. So Hull Breacher comes in, and it's got flash, and it means that if an opponent would draw a card, instead you make a treasure. But what would happen is, so if someone used like a windfall ability or wheels
like that.
basically the cards, you flash that out, all of a sudden that's not a very fun game for anybody. And I think the reason why that was getting banned was it was kind of anti-fun card. It was like against like the flow of it would just basically create this game where you've got no cards in your hand and you don't want to play anymore.
You say that a lot of people don't like playing against anti-fun cards and stacks in particular.
Yeah.
But I've got a new deck and it's a stacks deck and I love playing it. Like, it's an Orzhov deck, so like there's no green or blue like to accelerate yourself. So you've got to slow the game down a little bit to try and keep yourself in the game instead of Animar popping off, drawing.
See, I was a fan of the Hull Breacher ban because I'd cracked a few in Commander Legends and then sold them straight away on card market, and then the ban came in and the price just dipped straight down. It's like
stocks.
just got in there.
Can we animate the stonks meme on there?
Yeah. Well, you did a similar thing with Allosaurus Shepherd, didn't you?
I did,
Jumpstart,
yeah.
So
I sold that about a year ago, and obviously it's been reprinted now, so the value's like halved.
Yeah, I mean, if this ever gets reprinted, I'm in danger.
Yeah, you've sort of gone all in on Prickly Marmoset. And how many copies would you say you have?
I don't want to get judged. I'd probably say at least 300 plus.
Wow.
Okay, so I thought you were going to say 20 or something.
I mean, the context is, buy and sell cards a lot on card market. I'll sell anything that I pack, do quite a lot of booster box openings. So if I'm buying cards for any decks, any time I buy a card for seller, I have a look. I'm like, have you got a Prickly Marmoset? And if they've got one on for 2p on there, I just want
chuck in a Prickly Marmoset.
I was building an Arcades deck probably towards the start of the year, and I bought a load of cards off one of the biggest sellers. I can't remember a name, and they had 64 Prickly Marmosets all for 2p each, and I was like, it's just a meme, isn't it?
Just get
and then I sent the photo to Steve, and he put it on the Instagram straight away. It's like a photo. He's like, "Oh, it's mail day." And then the next thing was just Prickly Marmoset sprawled all over the table.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know where they all are?
I only own one boot nipper, by the way, just to put that out there.
You say, do you want to know where they are?
Do you know where they all are? They're hidden around your apartment in various places.
They go. Oh no, they go where they want. I've got a good story about that. This is 2 years in the making. I constantly find magic cards hidden around my flat.
I think I know why now.
No, so we had a load of our friends down for Christmas, and there's the 4 or 5 of us playing Ring of Fire, and it was something. One of my friends made a really stupid rule, and it's something like, every time someone pulls an even card, Lewis, you've got to go and hide a magic card around your flat.
I would absolutely hate that.
Because it was I was hammered, but it was I must have found, I don't know, because I think someone else made a rule so I had to hide even more. And I'm still, even though I'm in the process of selling my place and getting ready to move out, I'm still finding them everywhere. I went to play football a few months ago, took my goalie gloves, went to put them on when I got in the field, and there was a Prickly Marmoset.
Well, I think you're lucky it wasn't an actual Prickly Marmoset.
Yeah, that is a great hiding place for a Prickly Marmoset.
It's just when it's 2 years on and I'm like,
still finding.
Yeah, and I'm like, how?
To be fair, we're a big fan of that game anyway, not Magic related, but we've done that with like cocktail umbrellas and stuff like that.
Yeah, usually in my house, yeah.
We did consider doing it here, didn't we? Because when we were
Leave a Prickly Marmoset
when we were talking on our WhatsApp the other day, and I think, to be fair, I think it was you, Christian, that said, when you get here, make Wally's home your own.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was I messaged Steve. I was like, wouldn't it be really funny if we just hid like 20 Prickly Marmosets around the flat?
I would have loved that.
I really hope that you've done that.
You're saying that like we haven't done it.
Yeah.
No, I just brought Pokemon tattoos instead.
So, is anyone building any interesting decks at the moment?
You're always building a deck.
I'm always building a deck. The next one I want to build is Jetmir, Nexus of Rebels.
Yeah.
But as a stacks deck.
As a stacks deck.
Lovely. You can all play like one thing a turn. I'm going to play token generators until I've got loads of creatures out and then play Jetmir and wipe everyone out.
Jetmir is really good. So we played like a sort of Commander draft limited with like a Commander Chaos draft, and I pulled Jetmir, so I had Jetmir as my commander. And when I first read Jetmir, I was like, that seems okay, but actually in practice, really, really powerful.
Yeah, that's like a mini creative, isn't it?
Yeah, it gets out of hand once you've got a board and everything like that. It gets crazy. What about you?
So I'm building Adrix and Nev Twincasters. Reason being is that I've recently forayed into the reserved list market and bought a Guy's Cradle. You may see it.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, in a slab guard, and I just want a deck to put it in, and I think obviously a deck that creates loads and loads of tokens really powers up that Cradle, and then I'm tapping it for 20 mana or something stupid like that, and I'm going to put all the broken stuff in there. I'm not going to spare much expense on this deck, not that I ever do.
It's going to be a dirty deck.
It's going to be a dirty, dirty deck, yeah.
That's going to be with me.
You know that's blue though.
I know, yeah, well, the last deck I built was blue as well, wasn't it, around me?
You're coming slowly to the dark side, aren't you?
Yes.
What about yourself, Louis?
So I know what the next deck I want to build is. At the minute, I'm going through a phase of sort of fine-tuning the decks I've got.
Yeah.
So I've got Egg Deck at the minute.
Egg deck.
Egg
Nice.
Deck.
Is that
What,
Atla Palani?
Atla Palani,
Yeah.
we just call it Egg Deck. I think it's sort of one of the weaker decks I've got, so I want to fine-tune that, make that a bit better. But the deck I want to build at the minute is Gearson Stan. It's one of them. It's from the new 40k Warhammer that we've just done a budget brew on our channel.
Oh, okay. Go check it out.
Subscribe. But it's one of them. I have it a lot where we'll make like a budget deck, and because you get really into making the video, every time I'm like, I want to make this deck. I want to make this deck, and it just seems like such a.
So you really want to build this one until we make the next video?
Until the next video, yeah.
How often do you release videos? Sort of every week or so?
Every week or so. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of decks to be building then.
Yeah. No, I'd probably have like eight commander decks, I think. No, they're probably about half the amount Steve has. But again, it's an expensive hobby, so I'm trying to go through the phase of I don't need to make a deck at the minute. I'm just going to fine tune what I've got. But Gearson Stan's definitely on the list.
That's actually a really interesting question. I can come to my deck and build in a second. So, would you rather have more decks that are sort of less optimized, less powerful? You know, if it's, say, for example, obviously it's an expensive hobby, or would you rather have sort of fewer decks that are really finely tuned and really good at what they do?
I think you need a mixture of both,
Yes,
really.
yeah.
So I've got like 2 or 3 which I've spent a fair bit on, and like I said, quite finely tuned. But then not everyone you meet is going to have a deck of that power level, so you don't want to go pub stomping, playing someone and absolutely smashing them and then not having a good time, which is why it's important to have the rule zero talk and all that.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of finely tuned decks and a couple of fairly lower powered decks, which are a bit more janky. Like that's the spread I like. I think
I'd go more to the side of more decks, just because it is nice just having new decks or random decks to play with, just having a variety, and occasionally you'll suddenly come back to a deck, you're like, oh, I've not used this in it's been a few game nights, I've not used this. And, so probably more on the side of.
Yeah, and I agree. I would definitely have a wide variety. Obviously, it's good to have one very powerful deck or a small number, because every now and again you'll sit down with your mates and say, should we play mean decks or powerful decks today? So I can break out my Nagila deck or something like that. But then down at the other end of the scale, I've got my vanilla tribal deck with Jasmine Boreal or Kalane Reclusive Painter, which is just a complete jank pile.
Yeah.
So it's got good cards in it, but it doesn't really
It's not very consistent.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can really go off.
Yeah, I think our playgroup's definitely got that sort of aspect. So we've all definitely got at least one deck that's just, crazy powerful.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have a few games, and if you've not won those few games that we're playing tonight, all of a sudden, like, one of our friends will come out with their Eureka deck, or maybe I'll come out with
he's playing Eureka.
I'll come out with my Yarok deck, because that can just pop off and go really quick. So I think as long as you've got one deck that you can sort of just
go to strong deck. Yeah.
See, funnily enough, the deck that I was thinking might be good is it Satoru Umezawa? I'm sorry. The one that makes everything
Eureka, not Eureka.
Yeah, basically, I did pull Eureka, I think, in like a mystery booster box or something, or list card or something like that. But that one really took my fancy. I got like from a collector booster, like so. I suppose that comes into like another thing is like what maybe inspires you to build a deck. If I pull a specific card, like when I'm opening packs, I'm like, ooh, this looks really interesting. And I thought, cheating out some, crazy big creatures, some really like disgusting stuff onto the battlefield looked like fun. And I think I've seen Yuriko maybe play a couple of times. I don't know if it's necessarily for me. It's completely broken. But I think that one would be a good one to build. And the question around kind of like, would I prefer to have many decks or kind of like some optimized ones? I completely agree with you guys. Having a mixture of both is really important. And I think everybody sort of, weighs up and down on either side of that. Because it's quite easy to collect some lower power decks because you can just pick up a couple of precons or something.
Yeah.
And, they were running, you mentioned Oracle Aboon, yeah. Where it's like, that's like a £17-18 deck, to maybe $20 or something, for our American listeners. And so it's quite easy to have like that kind of like budget level, that lower level, but then maybe having your couple of signature decks where you're like, okay, I'm really going to go for it. But I think different to maybe yourselves, I don't really have something which is like, right, this is my $1 million deck. This is like there's no expense spared kind of thing. I'll always go on the side of, I want to kind of do something cheeky with a bit less, which is why I enjoy a lot of your videos being like the budget videos. Because it like gives you ideas about what to do, with kind of like with a restriction.
It's fun building with the restrictions,
Because you build a lot of decks, you've got loads of decks and you're always building. Where do you get your inspiration from? Because like I said, mine is very much, I've made a budget brew on this, I want to turn that from on the internet to reality, but you're always crafting.
I think I am always crafty. Crafty Steve, that's what they call me.
Crafty Steve.
But when a new set comes out, like obviously you see all the spoilers, like, wow, this is cool. And then I try not to build the most popular ones, or if I am building the most popular one, try and give it a heavy restriction, like it's only 30 quid for this deck, and that's all I can put into it. So like when Baldur's Gate came out, you've got Abdel, Adrian, and the backgrounds.
Yeah.
So I've got an all common deck for that.
Is that the Candlekeep Sage?
Yeah, which was really fun to build and really fun to play. But the deck is like really cheap and it's also quite good as well.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know. It's just when something comes out, I'm like, oh, that's nice. But the problem is that like there's too much stuff coming out all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, I want to build that. I want to build that.
Yeah, you can end up spending a lot of money on commander decks. If you see every commander you see and you want to build.
There's that list.
Do you know, that's actually a really interesting point you've just made there about stuff coming out all the time, because a lot of players see this as a bit of a negative when it comes to like just in general Magic. Doesn't necessarily have to be Commander or anything. There's that fatigue of different products. I don't really have the same thing where I feel like I've got to have everything or own everything. I actually quite like lots of stuff coming out all the time because I think it actually makes the waters being a bit murkier around what cards can go in a deck and there being more options. It means that you can see a card sometimes you're like, whoa, what does that do?
Yeah.
And when you're brewing, you'll see something and you'll be like, wow, I never saw this before. If you're using like Scryfall or something. Yeah. And so you've mentioned there your Abdul deck. That's a commander that I thought about building after we played a Baldur's Gate draft. Or it was sealed, was it? Yeah.
I can't remember, but
it might have been sealed, and that was really interesting. So I kind of like that things are coming out of a pace. I think it's good for Commander because it gives you more options and more budget options.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I know the wallet fatigue thing is a real thing, but I mean, to be fair, it gets loads of good memes out of it, don't we? but
that's the important thing. Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, you have the choice to buy or not buy what you want. If a set doesn't really do it for you, there's no need to go out and buy it. It's
true.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a fan of Adventures in the Forgotten Realm. Like, just I looked at it and nothing jumped out at me. I was like, meh, don't really feel like this one.
Again, for the channel, if a new set comes out, I quite like to buy a booster box because again, it's how the whole channel started. I quite like to
crack packs,
crack packs and buy a booster box and whatever. But again, like recent sets that just haven't resonated with me, like Infinity. Just
I haven't bought any Infinity.
I wasn't bothered. I'd never say buy a box specifically because I feel like I'd have to for the channel. I'd just buy it and be prepared to take that wallet hit.
I bought Infinity specifically for the lands. That's the only reason why I bought it.
Yeah.
And they are nice, those lands. I didn't get any shop lands, unfortunately. But...
Was you bought them in the least efficient way possible. You
Yes.
cracked some packs in
But it's all about the risk.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we said it during the game. Like the lands in the last year, like they've
so
they've
nice,
been-
really
yeah.
up the game.
I think from Theros Beyond Death, from
Yeah,
there
mixed lands.
they've
Yeah, they're so
just
good.
they're just
I
Getting better and
love
better.
the Kamigawa lands.
They're
You
so
know,
good.
any copy I get, but also I love the Megali ones from the most recent Dominaria set. Like they're really, really incredible. I actually bought a set of them to draft with. Not foils though, because I'm still a cheapskate. But I've got them, you know, for when I'm doing my, because Wally will know that I do a lot of limited. I like pre-release, I like drafting and things like that, and it's nice to have your own lands to bring into that to like sort of, you know,
To show off that you've got your own
yeah. I've got
lands.
that
A little bit of a flex.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, but I'm really tempted to get the Post Malone Secret Air lands. Have you seen them or not?
Yeah, you don't do them.
I don't know why. I just love a set of them. I think they'd be just so random to get out again.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll grab some lands. I can make you some of them. Yeah.
You know, before you get super famous, I quite like a few signed Chad
We'll
Magic
do that.
lands.
Should we?
I'll sign a marmoset.
Yeah,
You sign
yeah.
some lands. And then,
Let's get some marmoset signed. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'll find a boot nipper as well, and then
Yeah. Well, you think you've only got one?
I've only got the one. Yeah, unfortunately.
Some pet card that is only one copy.
It's like
I've got so many cards. I'll send you some boot nippers.
that's so kind of you.
We're probably going to sort of care package arrive in the post in a couple of weeks' time, and it'll just be like this big, just full of boot nippers.
Yeah, they'll actually get stopped at the post office. Suspicious package.
Oh, amazing. So, moving on from kind of like Commander a little bit, because I know you are mainly Commander players. Is there anything that could tempt you into trying other formats?
I think the problem is finding other people to play with. So it's easy on Arena. It's like people playing all the time. But for example, I've got a friend back home who has like 7 modern decks and no one to play with. Like, he just builds modern decks, goes up to people and goes, "Do you want to play with me?"
Yeah.
I'll even bring the other deck.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 modern decks is an expensive amount of modern decks. Let me tell you, I've tried modern. It wasn't really for me. There's a lot of like things you can do, which feels very like not like Magic. Of course, you do have your free counter spells and stuff in Commander, but it's a lot harder to get them because you've got 100 cards or anything. But obviously, in a modern deck, 60 cards, and you've got 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then they're playing things for free. But it's the interesting thing you said there was like not having the people to play with. So in your play groups then, in your LGSs or wherever you play Magic, are you finding that it is Commander?
Pretty much, yeah. Like everyone plays Commander. So I tend to play with my friends mostly, unless I go to some sealed events and stuff. But even when you go to the LGS, everyone's playing Commander. It's always Commander night on a Wednesday or a Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they've started doing Two-Headed Giant at R1.
Oh, really? I did
never
not see
played
that
it.
come in.
Fridays is Two-Headed Giant. I've not been yet, but it sounds fun.
We've played a bit of that in our play group, haven't we? Like
I've
occasionally.
not
Oh,
played
have you
it,
not
no.
been down when we? Oh, you
No.
missed.
And I would actually say if our local game store just play in town did Two-Headed Giant or some other slightly unusual format like that, I would probably make an effort to go. If it's a format I've never played before, and obviously I've never played Pioneer or Modern before, but if it's a case of you can turn up and the cards will be provided or they'll have the decks ready and you can buy them, I think I'd be up for that.
Two-Headed Giant's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
That is one of them. I've only played it I think twice, and you basically play on the. So if we are playing each other, we play at the same time on the.
I've seen.
Yeah.
There was a game night episode.
We
should do that. Yeah.
But similar to Steve, I think mine's location. Like, I'd love to try all formats because I'm the same with food. I'll try anything because I'm of the opinion it might be my new favourite food. If I don't like it, I'll never eat it again. So I'm the same with Magic. Like, we built Pauper decks a year or so ago, didn't we? But we never really, I don't know, we'd never
Played
really
them
got
like
around.
2 or 3 times, that's it.
So I'd love to experience different formats. But for me, where I'm based, my LGS, which great LGS, but it's just under a half an hour drive because there's not an LGS in rugby.
So you've got to go a bit of a way.
So yeah, it's almost, especially like just being quite a busy person, it's quite a commitment to say maybe get into another format and then have to
Go on a
travel to
weekly
do it, yeah.
basis, go quite a way.
It's interesting you mentioned Pauper because out of all the formats that I've not played, that is the one that I'd be most excited to try. I think as a aforementioned cheapskate, it appeals to me. But I love the idea of building decks with like a certain restriction on them. That really appeals to me. So obviously we've had a budget game which you can watch now, presumably. And that's great to have that, that budget. But Pauper obviously is a completely different thing. But it wouldn't necessarily have to be Pauper the format. You can obviously do Pauper EDH as well, and that can be an interesting.
Well, I was going to suggest maybe we should do that for a future episode, Pauper EDH.
Yeah, let us know what you think if you'd like to see Pauper EDH, and let us know what you think we should play. I don't mind building one of them.
Yeah, I'll just dig through my collection. It's mostly Double Masters 2022, but there'll be stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of just flicking through and deciding what.
See, being into Magic for a few years, do you find that and I guess the amount of stuff that you may or may not buy, do you find that your collection of cards at home is just wild, or are you pretty organised?
When you say wild, do you mean? Oh, you mean not organised?
Yeah, not wild, or just do you find that you have just thousands of cards that you've got no home for? You never really use?
Yeah. Okay, so there's two questions there. First of all, yes, I have thousands of cards.
Yeah.
Secondly, mine are actually organised very well. So I have mine split into each set and then into each colour from each set, and the rares all have their own folders. So the commons and uncommons are mixed together. But yes, but I've got like 4 or 5 boxes full of cards. What I'd like to do with a lot of them really is actually, when I meet new players, is give them to new players. But obviously it's a bit of a challenging one because I don't go to my LGS with
a huge
5 crates of Magic cards and be like, here, have some of my cards.
But, I mean, where that comes to you, because obviously a friend of ours contacted us this morning asking about getting into Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So, if he was to come round to one of our houses, we could just... And obviously, I bought about 4 boxes of Double Masters 2022. So all of my bulk is to my Double
You
Masters
say about
2022.
4 when you say that. And so does that mean that you actually bought more than 4, but you don't want to admit that
He's
you bought
rounding
more
down.
than 4? Yeah.
So basically, I've bought 4 and opened 4, but by the time this airs, there's no guarantee I won't have bought another.
I know you've got thousands, haven't you? Because I know when sets come out, like I said, I usually buy a box, but you used to, before you had a kid a few months ago, you were buying like 2 boxes a set, weren't you? And you must have
got one of those big cardboard things you can get off Amazon. It was like
5,000 cards.
£3 or something, and it's
I
absolutely
need to get one of
stacked
those.
full.
They're so good.
It's kind of in the same order as yours, Christian. Like it's done by set and then by colour.
Yeah.
But they're not in the proper order. Like every time someone comes around and I try and get them into Magic, I'm like, you can have whatever you want in there. Just take it.
Can I ask you? You mentioned there obviously cracking boxes. Boxes of what? Draft, set, collector. What's your kind of?
So when I first started, set and collector weren't really a thing, and obviously collector then came into the fold first. So for the first year or so, I was just buying draft boxes.
Yeah.
I think since Zendikar Rising, which was the first one to do set boosters, I'm now just all set. If I'm going to buy a box, I'll buy set. I won't, because I don't buy them to draft anyway. I'll buy a set because I know there's more likely going to be better cards.
You've got the list.
There's the list. There's better cards, which will be obviously better content as well. And I think you only get 12 cards as opposed to 15. But I think there's just so much more value in there.
See, it's interesting.
I'm a set booster guy as well, to be fair.
I'm the other way. I'm a draft booster person, and I think what it is I'm trying to get, for me, getting the value out of them is getting some games in with them.
Yeah.
And so I understand it's different when you're making content around what's opening, and it's almost like we're coming at it from 2 different angles.
Yeah.
But we play a lot of multiplayer limited, so it's like I think Commander players would love it in general if you ever get a chance to play. And basically we draft or like a deck, pass it round, or we create a sealed deck with 6 packs. But getting a decent, fun evening out of the packs when you crack them.
Yeah.
So that for you is the value.
The value is the gathering.
We had a great...
when we went down to Rich's house.
Yeah, we went to London a few months ago to one of our friends' house, and we bought a Commander Legends box just before Commander Legends 2 came out. And that was just such a fun time.
It's a really good draft experience. Isn't it?
So if it's in that sense, it'd be very fun. But I'd buy nothing but collector boxes if money wasn't. If money wasn't.
I've never opened a collector box. I've only ever opened single packs, but only maybe 2 or 3.
I've opened a few. The last one was what set was it that Kozilek was in?
Double Masters 2022.
Yeah. I opened that box and I was like, oh, Kozilek, I know that's an expensive one. And then I didn't realise that it was a
textured foil.
Oh, wow.
That's money, that is, yeah.
The comment section were like, how are you not reacting more to this? At first,
that's all right.
At first I was like, well, I was excited. I was like, oh yeah, I think it's just like a 60, £50 card. And they're like, no, that's 300.
100.
I was like,
That'll pay for the whole box, that will.
It did, because it was only 4 packs. 4 packs.
Yeah, that's definitely Double Masters 20. We didn't crack any collector boosters.
No,
at
I cracked a few draft boosters though. But
a few, yeah, over 100 presumably.
Good set though. Good set.
Oh, I can't wait for the next thing like that.
Well,
to come out.
that was like, in terms of value for Commander, that was the Commander set, really. I mean, Baldur's Gate, I still think in time will come true, but that's obviously my opinion. But Double Masters 2022 for Commander, you mentioned Muldrotha earlier.
Yeah.
You've got like the
new art
borderless Muldrotha and all that type of stuff. So I think I really enjoyed cracking those packs.
Hence why I bought so much.
What would you say is your favourite set from like the last 12 months?
Oh, that's a really, really tough one.
Because there's been some good ones.
So from a pack opening perspective, Double Masters 2022, and I think most people who've opened lots of packs over the last year would say that. But to play, definitely Battle for Baldur's Gate. I thought the draft experience was so good, and we did talk about this in the last chat, Magic, so it's probably not worth going round the ring on it again. But yeah, I thought the draft experience was so good.
I'm going to say Kamigawa. Kamigawa
That's
for me
exactly
was
what I was gonna say.
home run of the set.
You loved Kamigawa.
I loved it. It just going back to you mentioned the first episode. The art's a big thing for me, and that kind of it was just so interesting, and I felt like it really brought you into the world. So yeah, just coming at it from a different kind of angle, I'd say Kamigawa.
Yeah, that's how I won't add anything because that was nail on the head.
I'm not sure it's the last 12 months, but I think in recent memory, Strixhaven was my favourite by a long way. I thought it was such a cool set, really interesting.
Strixhaven was the first standard set that came out while I was a player, actually.
And again, and that was top, like Mystical Archive cards.
They're my favourite
so
alternate
good.
cards. Yeah. I love the Mystical Archives. I've actually got a box of Strixhaven, so maybe we should draft it next time you guys are up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I suppose, sort of wrapping things up at the moment, what are you kind of most excited about for the future of Magic?
Oh, Phyrexia All's one.
Okay.
That was going to be my answer.
You can both have the same answer. We both
Bringing everything together.
I think, just
the recent storylines.
The next
so it's the story
Interesting.
actually, the wrap up of the story.
So you've got all the Praetors in different planes, like sneakily there, and no one knows they're there, and then how it's all going to come together. I think will be really interesting.
I think we're quite big lore nerds.
Oh,
so
okay.
so the Brothers War, Phyrexia. I think it's just the story and everything like that. It's I'm excited just for the next few sets and see where it goes because I think it's building up to War of the Spark. Like the last time when there was War of the Spark, which built up through like
There was
the Ravnica blocks and things like that, and then it was the finale to a big story, and I feel like that's where that's sort of heading.
That's interesting because I know very little about Magic lore. Like, I would actually go as far as to say that I know nothing about it. So it's interesting that is such an important part of the game for you. For me, it's like. And it's not because I'm deliberately ignoring it or I think it's bad. I've just never really taken the time
You're more of the functional aspect of the
play. I'm an engineer, not a storyteller.
By the sounds of it, I think the lore in Magic was like, say, 10 years ago before I was into it. I think it was a lot bigger part of Magic then.
Really?
And it sounds like, I mean, I could be wrong, but it sounds like it's something that's sort of, they've, cut back on throughout the years. I mean, there's still released stories like they have for the Brothers War that's coming out. Yeah. But I think compared to what it was 10 years ago, I think it used to be a lot more, but it's worth reading and getting into.
I will do, and actually, to be fair, like I've recently discovered Ristic Studies. I can't believe I've been so long without knowing about Ristic Studies, and that sort of touches on the lore a little bit in certain places. So maybe I should get into it.
Well, I think it's interesting. There's also Magic Arcanum as well, which is really, really good for doing it. At the time of filming this, by the way, we're sort of midway through the Brothers War story. So it's interesting that you mentioned like the lore and everything. I'm actually excited to see the story kind of wrap up. I think for me, sort of moving forward, I'm actually really excited for like all the universes beyond kind of stuff. And I'm probably going to get crucified again for this in the comments. But I actually like. I think the Warhammer stuff that came out, I think was really good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And I know that other people feel very differently about the way that this kind of works and stuff like that. But for me, I don't really have a problem with bringing out like a Necron warrior in a game of Magic. It doesn't really bother me that much. I think it makes Magic more accessible to more people.
Yeah.
I think ultimately the accessibility, the promoting of Magic and getting more people into the game is really helpful because the more people there are who get into it, the more people you have to play with. So a bit of a different one, but I'm excited for like the Lord of the Rings set. Sorry, modern fans.
Oh, I'm so excited.
You know, I think it'll be interesting to see what Gandalf does and stuff like that. So I'm excited for that.
I think they finally found a way where they can make it work. Like they obviously had it for, say, like the Walking Dead cards, which were very controversial and didn't work because people didn't like how the mechanics.
Yeah, they were mechanically unique, and that was the problem. I don't necessarily agree with that.
But then they had early things like in Ikoria, where they had like the Godzilla stuff, which was just a rehash of other cards, where that's it's no problem. It's no harm or anything.
How could anybody be against that?
I really like Universes Beyond because I think they've found a way that
they can bring all of that in.
That makes it work without being broken, without upsetting.
In particular, I'm excited for the Doctor Who one. But if Christopher Eccleston does not get his own card, we're going to be having words wizards.
And also, if Regenerate isn't a massive theme in it.
I think they'll do that. I think that'll be a theme.
It's quite funny though, because obviously you're going around asking what we're most looking forward to. And the guys took my first answer, and you've just taken my backup answer.
Okay.
So what's your third?
I didn't even think I'd need a third.
Boot Snipper reprint.
Boot Nipper reprint.
You've heard it here. We want a Boot Nipper reprint. Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining us. You've been fantastic. It's been great playing some games with you today. It's been great sitting down and having a cup of tea and listening to the podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll catch you next time on Chad Magic. See you later.
Bye for now.
Bye.